Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Justus Parrotta 1988 podcast, Season 1, Episode 7. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for future episodes. This particular episode, along with the episodes for this week, will be focusing on the article Capturing the Magic of the Pianistic Sound and Touch Toward a Synergy of Ear and Fingers in the Creation of the Artistic Image by Vladimir Valjarević, and this is in the RAST Musicology Journal, Spring 2022. I am looking at it from the lens of a composer-performer, and my thoughts and analysis on it, so that's how it's going to work. One thing I'm going to mention right away is there's going to be 3 different objectives that I go over in looking at this article. This particular episode is part 1, so it's going to focus on the first objective, which is creating material that they themselves know how to perform. And in the case to simplify it, I've made this particular objective yellow. To start out, what I want to mention is that he discusses mental practice and warm-up on the first page of the article. He explores exercises with Hannon, Czerny, Clementi, and Kramer, then discusses the concept of the concert etude in terms of people such as Chopin, Liszt, Rachmaninoff, Debussy, Scriabin, and Stravinsky. He also earlier on mentions how people such as Dussek, Hummel, Clementi, and Field eventually built the foundation for early 19th century virtuosi such as the Schumanns and Liszt and Chopin. The next thing I'm going to mention is that on page 82, he examines warm-up exercises in terms of the composers Liszt and Couperin. He also discusses how the work of Friedrich Wieck, who is Clara Schumann's father and Robert Schumann's father-in-law, was a very sophisticated method, and it was based solely on the needs of each individual student, so it wasn't a one-size-fits-all method, and it was very customizable. In the case of Hannon, Valjarević talks about imaginative practice techniques in terms of phrasing, articulation, and dynamics. You also could add harmonic modifications to it as well, possibly rhythmic, such as like playing it in 6/8 instead of 2/4. The other thing that Valjarević talks about is looking at phrase, how phrases appear in music and their structure for the student, and knowing when to breathe and how it breathes in the music. The other thing that is beneficial that he talks about, and that's a key and crucial point for me as a composer, is guided improvisation for notes and rhythm and composition with predetermined goals. He also investigates composition and analysis, which is key and beneficial for learning a piece because, for example, if you have a sonata form and you know how a sonata form works, you know this motion is going to happen here, this theme's going to happen here, this theme's going to happen here, this theme's going to happen there, but it's going to be modified and it's going to shift. You could say that about sonatina form, you could say that about fugues. I think with analysis, it really helps to give insight into how a piece works from a roadmap perspective. The other thing that he mentions is studying the score away from the instrument, aka mental practice. I often use a similar form of mental practice as a composer, so thinking about a piece before I write it, away from the keyboard, away from notation paper, away from notation software even. Sometimes I will just write down the piece ideas by hand or the structure of it. Or in some cases, I will go into the word processor and just type up a form of a piece and what keys, what areas of form I want to use, well, what things I want in what areas of the piece, what forms, ABA, ABCA, ABACA, that sort of methodology. I should also mention that as a composer-performer, there's 3 points under the first objective, which are to, number 1, or A, know one's strengths. Number 2, know one's weaknesses. And number 3, know one's limits. Thank you very much, and see you in part 2 on my thoughts on the Valjarević, which will investigate the composer-performer disseminating their own work. Thank you, and take care.